Happy Monday. My name's Heather Robertson Devine. I'm the owner of Books Del Sur, and I'm coming to you live today for our series Libros de Lunes. And today's book that I'm going to share with you is, oops, both of them are upside down, Viaje a la Luna. Viaje a la Luna. So all of these books that I've showed you are flippable because they're all from two different perspectives. So that is part of the reason why they're such great personal narratives, because they are literally narratives, stories written from one voice to another voice. So today's voice is two children, and I'm going to get into it in just a minute. But today's theme is about friendship. And a lot more than just friendship. So these books are all part of the social emotional collection. So again, like I mentioned, this book is in the second grade set, and it's told the perspective of two different children. Now, I wanted to say that if you that this book is about friendship, okay? But it is about so much more than friendship. It's actually also about economics, class. And let's see which side I started on. So let me tell you why it's about economic class. And it'll make more sense if I start from this point of view. So I have talked to you about books in the past being in the United States, we have a really strong opinion about multiculturalism, and we should. I'm not criticizing it at all. And about books that represent children of all colors and walks of life. So if you please take note of the color of that child's skin and then the color of this child's skin. One of the few books in our collection that really is intentional about skin color. And so that is what also makes it great. If you just want to compare to this book, to this book, to this book, the kid's skin color is much lighter, right? So, and it's not as obvious as this book right here. So it's about class, it's about race, and it's about tolerance and reaching across cultures so that we can get to know each other. So this story, Viaje a la Luna, I'm going to start with this perspective of our first child. And the child on this side, you know, honestly, I'm not even sure if I know what his name is. Floaty. Anyway, so this story is of this perspective of the story is of a child who is socioeconomically gifted, or of an upper class, because he has a nanny. So or a nana is what they call them in Chile, where this book was written. And so a nana is a caretaker, someone who maybe their babysitter. So my Thomas has a caretaker, and I need to pick him up from that caretaker very shortly, or maybe 3 minutes ago. And so that's his nana in some respects, and she's amazing. So, but and so here in the United States, like having a nana or having a nanny is not as common, but definitely in other places it is definitely way more common, and it definitely is a sign of the great divide between the haves and the have-nots. So in this case, the nanny, the child is with his nanny, and he has some amazing. He is very interested in the moon and being an astronaut. That's what he would like to be. And this book is perfect because. Let me just get out my moon phases calendar, which is right in my general calendar because I look at it all the time. And today, September 24th is, gosh, is that today's date? I feel like a dork. Yeah, is a full moon. And so it's a great opportunity for us to talk about full moon as well, because I know that our classes get a little crazy at the full moons, and so do we all do, right? It's one of our cycles, so we need to pay attention to it. So this book is perfect for the full moon. It's also perfect for thinking about relationships. This young man wants to be an astronaut, and he tells his nanny about it. And as he's sharing this with his nanny, he goes through some reflections about, like, well, if my nana is taking care of me, who's taking care of her son? Because she tells him that her son also is very interested in going across and going to the moon. And it also shares a story which gives us some great insight about his mom, and his mom working late, and he coming home and seeing his mom. And he actually decides to write a letter. And the illustrations, look at that illustration. Can you see it? He actually decides to write a letter to his nana's son, because his nana says that she doesn't know the answers to his question, but maybe her son does. And So the children start to write letters back and forth, and he decides to invite his friend over because what he thinks is like, you know what, if I'm going to go to the moon, I really need a co-pilot. So let me invite my Nana's son over to my house, and his mom is okay with that. And that is when the two children meet. So if you've seen our other books, this is where we flip it around, and then we're actually going to start over from the beginning of this story. And so this story actually even talks about the dad, how it's and literally there's a line in it. Mi papá también quería ser astronauta, pero no pudo por problemas económicos. No entiendo bien lo que significa económicas, tal vez sea una enfermedad o miedo a conocer los marcianos. So he literally says, my dad wanted to be an astronaut too, but he couldn't because of economic problems. I don't know what the heck economic means. Maybe it's like some sickness that Martians give you. Oh my goodness. So that's so great, but we're also bringing up that issue, and it's a point for you to be able to have those discussions. Anyway, this child goes on to pursue his dream of the stars and the moon. He recognizes the fact that he's not a usual child in his class. He loves to sit with his telescope on top, and his telescope was not something that was something that was handed down to him. And then he is also an expert, so he is very excited to go meet his new friend and have a friend that is willing to engage with him in the stars and the moon and the conversation. And he's excited to write notes back and forth to his friend. And then at one point, yes, they do meet. And so that, again, is where the story flips. So this story, like the other stories in our books, do have this, like, you know, classic happy ending, and oh, the boys are going to meet, and, you know, we totally feel like they're going to be best friends. Well, what we do know about different cultures and different experiences is that it's actually not the la 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 that we really feel. It's actually a conflict, and it does cause conflict. But what we want to do is we want to teach kids that, hey, that conflict, that's difference. And it's okay to be different. And what we want to do, instead of fighting and othering ourselves, which we do every day, and adults are really crappy models for it right now, right? But what we want to do is we want to have conversations about, well, what do we do when we have a difference, and how do we resolve them? And really, this is getting to the heart of human nature and how humans are dynamic. We're not just one thing. This child that you're looking at right here, he's not just a poor child. He's a child with big dreams, and he wants to be an astronaut, and he has really deep interest and a lot of knowledge around space. And so we want to be able to validate that in all children. And this is an excellent example of a story that does that. This is a great example of a story that shares two different children's experiences, two different children's lives that are very different economically and in our society, but they both have one interest. And so that's something that unites us. Our interests, our passions, that can unite us. And you know what? Economics doesn't have to divide us. It can, but it doesn't have to. And this is a great example of a book that shows us how. So this is Viaje a la Luna. It's available at booksdelsur.org. It's also in our school catalogs in the social emotional set. You're always welcome to order an individual book, but we encourage you to have a book like this for your read aloud in your classroom, and also perhaps a reading instruction, a guided reading group for your kids to really get in deep and talk about that content of perspective. So thank you for joining me today. This is Viaje a la Luna. It's a book about friendship and so many other things. So thanks for joining me. I hope that you open a book and open yourself up to another world. Take care, and we'll see you next week.